Like, I feel like we date and we're mirroring. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? So people think that they can tell you how they feel, but they're not realizing like you're not talking to yourself, you're talking to somebody else. So you're not really understanding what you're doing to that person. You have to listen to what they're saying
Mhm.
and understand and then try to be better. So if someone did say that to you, maybe he's dragging it a little bit, but there's a part of that he's
Mhm.
right. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And if we really want to grow, we have to listen deeply, take that, evaluate that
Mhm.
and push it out and be better.
So, welcome back to another episode. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe. And if you are returning, thank you for joining us again. Well, it's me. I'm your girl Zena, aka Top Tier Z, here to do what I do best. And that is talk with my guest.
Yes.
And today's guest is a very special friend of mine. She goes by the name Jackie. She is a stylist, designer, events curator, marketing strategist. I just love having talented women who just do it all.
Let's clap for
Okay,
that. Let's
like
clap for
that's
that. Because it's not easy, wearing many hats can be difficult.
it could.
So
So thank you, Jackie, for coming on today. Make your debut. Make your podcast debut.
I mean, I'm Jackie, as she said, and I'm excited to be here because Z is like a really good friend of mine. There's some friends that you have that you don't see every day, but the energy is always going to be the same because they're genuine. So this is one of them.
Aw,
So I'm
thank
here to
you.
support
I'm
her,
happy to have you
and I'm
here.
excited.
And I feel the same way about you. So let's get into the icebreakers, right?
Mhm.
I'm gonna go with a little round of this or that.
Mm.
You just say your preference, and then we're on to the
Okay,
next.
let's
All
go.
right. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Winter fashion or summer fashion?
That's a good question. Winter fashion. I feel like summer you could wear nothing and be okay, but winter you have to get fly.
You really
You
gotta know
gotta
how to
put
dress.
that thing on, miss. Put that on. You know what I mean?
Layer them clothes.
Styling and dressing is not just putting on the outfit. It's about styling it and layering it and making it into a style that everyone can't do.
Let them know, and that's what you do.
What
I already know the answer to this one.
is it?
Makeup or natural?
Natural.
Miss Alicia Keys.
Natural.
On a man, would you prefer nice teeth or nice body?
Whew. I am so big on smiles, so I would have to go with teeth. But
Mhm.
like I mentioned earlier, life throws curveballs, and you kind of have to understand what's more important to you. So he can get his teeth fixed. We all right.
That's a fact. Or he may not start with the best body, but he could work out and build that
Now,
body.
but men
What?
can't really do much for. I mean, they can work out, they can get right, but it takes a mental, strength to be able to do that. I feel like teeth, you can walk in somewhere and get that fixed.
That is
You know what I mean? So a body, I mean, if he's like a certain way, that means he's not taking care of himself to an extent. So I'm looking at all of those things. So
okay.
I'm not, it's like body or teeth, it's hard to say, but teeth can be fixed easily.
Yeah. I'm a teeth person.
Mm-hmm.
Smile at me, baby. Let me see your
Mm-hmm.
grill.
Windows to the soul, eyes and teeth and smile.
Literally, the windows to the soul. My last one.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a beach girl or are you a pool girl when you're on vacation?
Beach. I
Yes.
love, love, love the beach.
Mm,
Water is my everything.
mine
I
too.
think water brings me back to life, especially depending on what I'm dealing with. So,
Mhm.
beach,
I love
the
that.
sand, refreshing,
And like just
exfoliating.
literally seeing where the clouds meet the ocean. Like
Hmm.
I love the beach because I'm like, damn, I'm just this little minute little creature amongst all of this
It
greatness.
makes you look at things as whole. Like, sometimes when I'm in the water too, I feel like, wow, like it looks like it's so far beyond. Like, you
Mhm.
can't really see. And I think that's what makes me like pray when I'm at the beach because I can't really see what's to come.
Mhm.
I'm just looking at this beautiful view and it's giving me endless amount of opportunities and possibilities. So my ability to think mentally at the beach gives me the spiritual feelings that I need because it's so, so welcoming and
No, I get
I love
that.
it.
When I go on vacation, I bring my crystals and I take them to the beach to charge. And I love to meditate to like the waves of the ocean
Hmm.
and like the sand under my ass.
I take the sand and I exfoliate.
Yes.
All the time. I remember when I was younger and my friends was looking at me like I was crazy. And this was before my spiritual journey. So
Mhm.
sometimes I believe when you are awakening and you're getting to know self better, you don't really know what you're practicing
Yeah.
in the beginning. You kind of just have this thought process, or you're following this purpose, and you kind of do things that make you feel good.
Yeah.
So at that time, I would always go to the beach and like pray and meditate and scrub, and they didn't understand, and I didn't either. I just knew it was something that I wanted to do, I
Mhm.
had to do, and it made me feel good. And now that I'm older and I'm actually more aware of self, I know why I was doing it and how
Mhm.
much it meant to me. So
I love those moments.
it's
No,
crazy.
but that also just shows like you're traveling on the journey you're supposed to be. Like
Hmm.
you're developing new practices and new appreciation for things out of nowhere. And then when it all comes together, you're like, oh, that's why. Or
Yeah.
like you see where it ties in.
Alignment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my word of the year.
Yep.
I want to ask you, what was the biggest lesson you've learned this for?
Um, I kind of learned a few, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what I learned the most was trusting my intuition,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like sometimes people think they know themselves and they don't. And I'm a person that listens with intention, and I do things with intention.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of people, like I said, think they know who they are and they don't. I would believe what they say and not really, listen to their or pay attention to their actions as much. So now I feel like even though you may tell me something, I'm still going to use my intuition and see how you're saying it,
Mm-hmm.
the way you're saying it, because people say whatever sounds good these days. They're
Absolutely.
really
Yeah.
not speaking from the heart, and they're not genuine. So I feel like when I pay attention to how they're saying it versus what they're saying, I can kind of pick up what conscience they're in.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of people are just not righteous.
And the intention too. When you really
Mm.
pay attention to what is being said to you and like dissect it, you're like, damn, you don't have the best interest at heart, my
No.
best interest at heart,
No,
right?
or
Or
when
like,
situations arise and you're realizing how they're handling them or the things that they're choosing to say to you, it kind of makes you wonder, like, did you always feel that way?
girl, been there, dealt with that. Honestly speaking, in those instances, I'd rather it come out at some point. Like, I think my biggest lesson is like being authentic in
Hmm.
who I am and realizing like how things align for me when I am my true self at my core. And that goes hand in hand with like not accepting certain behavior,
Hmm.
setting certain boundaries
Hmm.
and just being true to who I am and what I believe. Honestly speaking, even with like work, like I work in corporate America, I work a 9 to 5,
Hmm.
in case anyone didn't know. And
Hmm.
I realize like just how well I am received when I show up as me. Like
Hmm.
people actually like that. People really fuck with that vibe and that energy. And because I feel like we live in a world of social media where no one wants to see the real, right? It's I love this post you did a
Which one?
couple of days ago when you said you're still looking at the same thing, not verbatim. Even though you have a filter on, it's
Mm.
still the same thing. What was the post?
It was
I'm gonna find it.
no matter what filter you choose, the reality remains the same. And it's true. I feel like a lot of people these days, they are pretending.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's not their true self. And it shows through Instagram. So people tend to think that you cannot see them for themselves through Instagram. They think that because they are, putting on this front and they're, projecting all of these things, that they are not people who are woke enough to see past that.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's pretty much where I'm coming from. I feel like even though you may, try to project something that you're not, people can still see who you are regardless, by your verbiage, by maybe your aura, your energy. It still shows. That's pretty much how I feel.
Especially people who are in tune with themselves. Like
Exactly.
I can read myself. I can read vibes. I can read energy. So I can tell that's not really
That's
you.
like people. Yeah, it makes no sense. Like, guys on Instagram, they try to pretend that they have all these things, and when you get around them, you're like, yo, you're not even that kind of person. And when you go through that a few different times, you start to realize that the perception that people are putting out there, or just your perception of people, could be wrong. And then the Instagram adds that to it. It adds filter to their life. So you'll never really know the true them until you eat, sleep, and shit with people anyway. So then
Hmm.
being on social media is kind of like, wow, I'm thinking you're this great person, and then when I get next to you, you really have some fucked up shit about you. So,
Girl,
you know,
that's a lot of people. You know what's funny? What I've learned, your perception is your reality. And I've heard that on like Love is Blind from Milton. I find myself saying it so often because once I analyzed, I was like, oh shit, that is true. A lot of people, they perceive themselves to be something that they're really not, right? And I'm not saying, by all means, be delusional about your goals, about, certain things you
About
want in
yourself,
life,
believe in
right?
yourself. Yes. But
Exactly.
it's
But
levels to that.
that's a fact.
Like believing in yourself and then knowing exactly where you are in life, that actually gets you further.
Yeah.
Because I could say I want to do all these things, but if I'm not honest with myself and realizing exactly where I'm at, how can I go to the next step?
Hmm.
Because I'm in la la land.
Hmm.
In la la land, there's so many levels to la la land. So I just feel like the more people are honest with themselves, even if I don't have, or if I do, or if I'm lack of, that's okay.
Hmm.
Nobody's perfect and no one's going to have it all, even though Instagram pretends that you do or gives you the opportunity to pretend that you have it all. You don't. Nobody does, really.
I
Because some
know.
people can have the money and not have the happiness. So,
That's a fact. And a lot of people, I want to touch on relationships because a lot of people show up in relationships as one thing and then turn out to be another. Or they show up like, this is what I can add to your life, this is what I can contribute. And then you really can't. It's like a lot of men and women, they get into relationships acting like they're ready, acting like they can offer you this. Meanwhile, you're just draining people.
for me, I think that is such a big, like, there's so many levels to that because, sometimes people want what they are not ready for.
Yeah.
So sometimes they can reach out to somebody or thinking that they are ready to fulfill your needs and wants, but they don't really see you.
Hmm.
That's another thing. People think, that they can give you all these things, but they don't even know what you need. So in the process of them trying to figure that out, they're still learning you. And I feel like a lot of people are not really willing to learn people.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's one thing for you to experience things with people, but it's another thing for you to really know their core, like you're saying, and their heart. So I think for me, with people that I've been dating, I think that they have a hard time being aware of themselves. And I think that I'm a person that gives men a challenge
Hmm.
because I always want to see people do better. Anytime you're around me, anybody, a friend, a relationship, a coworker, you
That's a
worked with me,
fact.
I'm
Yeah.
going to make sure that you are happy around me. And if you're not happy, I'm still going to be a person that's going to uplift you. I'm
Hmm.
still going to give you that feeling of confidence. I'm still going to give you compliments. I'm just going to be there for you. So when I realize when I'm with people, I tend to do that a lot. I
Hmm.
tend to embrace them. I try to let them know their flaws. And even if it is a flaw, I still give them the benefits of it and let them know that nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
But I feel like in relationships, men, especially with their ego, they think you're always trying to come for them.
That's what I was
Instead
gonna
of not
ask you.
understanding,
How do they understand the challenge? How do they take on the challenge? Because
they
I like to challenge people
but
too.
that's why
That's
we
just,
argue most of
yeah.
the time. To be honest, I think the arguments are really us challenging them. And it's not that we want to challenge them, we just have an opinion for
Hmm.
ourselves.
Hmm.
And they're not really used to that. Not all men are used to a woman with a reasonable opinion.
That's
You
a
know what I
fact.
mean? Because some women just be catty or some women just say whatever because they're mad. But when you're a woman and you got substance and
Hmm.
you're like, listen, what you're not going to do is they're looking at you like, excuse me, who do you think you are?
And
And
you're
it's
still
like,
calm. Your voice is not raised.
and then the scary part is when men antagonize you during that conversation.
Yeah.
So for me, lately, I can say that depending on the situation, it bothers me a little bit more,
Mhm.
right? And in the process of me trying to explain that, people will use that as a defense mechanism that, oh, you need to control your emotions or so on and so forth. But for me, it's not about me controlling my emotions. It's about us both having an understanding.
Mhm.
And I tend to feel like I'm arguing more because I'm trying to help you understand my perspective.
Mhm.
So, like you said, perception is reality. So, understanding where your conscious level is how you're going to find your mate.
Yeah.
Because I'm dating somebody and I'm in 5D and he's in 4D. And now I'm trying to explain a situation to him or a scenario and he can't even wrap his mind around it.
Mhm.
So the whole time we're
He has
talking,
dimensions
we're
essentially.
arguing. And
Yeah.
it's like, I don't even want to argue. I just really want to help you understand and me to get your perspective or your perception of it. And then we move forward. But they're not used to that. They want it to be a right or wrong. And that's 3D or 4D energy. And I'm not there. So I'm trying to
Explain to the
compromise.
people the 3D, 4D, 5D.
Listen, I'm not a guru in that and I don't know it all, but I am aware of people and their thought process.
And the energy
And that's really
too.
what
It's
3D
a
is.
lot.
It's
Yeah.
conscious. It's
Yeah.
where you are in your conscious mental
Mhm.
thought process. And 3D to me, I can give you like my little,
In your own words,
observation of
yeah.
it. 3D are people who are just in their physical state. Like they're not, they're really people who are like survival of the fittest.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not really understanding that the world is bigger and that you have to help each other and, you
They're
know,
in
things
survival
like that.
mode.
Yeah, they're in survival mode. So 4D are people who are getting out of that,
Yeah.
and they're basically trying to love more and have more compassion and understand life a little bit differently, right? But in the process of that, you have life going on.
Yeah.
So that's where, you know, people in relationships have problems. Because I could have been one way in my past relationship because I was there in a different space in my life. But then I get with you and you're in a different space, and now we're combative because we're two different spaces. We're in two different frequencies.
Dimension.
Two different frequencies.
Yeah.
So that's where I really think it boils down to. I think if we start dating men who are where we are, it would be more pleasant.
But why don't a lot of us, why is it so difficult for us to date people who are on that same realm
Because
as
we're looking for the wrong things.
Ooh.
We're looking for light skin or dark skin. We're looking for, I'm just being real, you know what I mean? We're looking for straight teeth or a good
Physical.
body. I feel like those things matter if you care about them. Because I do, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that your appearance doesn't matter to me, because your appearance shows me how you take care of yourself. And if you can't take care of yourself, you cannot take care of me.
Period.
So I don't want anyone who I have to argue with you about hygiene. Okay, I have to continuously explain to you that, hey, I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm not coming from a bad place.
Yeah.
But I realize people are so used to negative people that someone that's full of positive energy, it comes across like I want to argue or I want to nag. And it's like, no, I want you to understand me so we could be smooth.
Yeah. I get that too. Like, I'm a very nonchalant person, like, and I let go of things very easily and very quickly. And sometimes I feel like that bothers people because they're still holding on to the same thing. And I'm like, I've been past that. Like, my energy is way too important to be focused on this. To me, that's small stuff. Like, I've moved past that.
But I'm not like that.
How?
See, because like, it's levels to that, levels to everything. But for me, I feel like I care about the small stuff. Like when we have a situation and we're talking about something like family or like, you know, it's hard to talk about politics and religion and things like that, but you should be able to with your spouse, right? I feel like the small stuff is what makes me know who you really are at core, because things vary, right? But when it's small, you have to really take your time and understand it. And I feel like those small things are really who you are at core. You know, like,
yeah, I get what you're saying, but I'm gonna go back to when you said we're not looking for the right things, right? We're looking at the physical, or we're not. I feel like a lot of us, we don't ask the right questions. We're not having the right conversations. Like,
yes.
we don't speak to each other enough in a place of for a place of understanding.
We got the phones are distracting us. We're not having real, you know, connections anymore.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, you made a very good point, because now I feel like lately it's been so hard to date because of that. You know, like usually I feel like you meet somebody and they're at least a little bit less guarded. You know, they're at least somewhat willing to open up a little bit. I feel like lately people are so close-hearted and so guarded that they're pushing the right people away. And in the process of that, they're blaming others and they're not realizing that it's coming from within. It's a trauma response.
Yeah.
You know, avoidance, you know, anxious attachments, like all these things are what we all have inside of us, what we all have to, you know, acknowledge or try to find a deeper reasoning behind it. And that's self-work. That's why I always say do shadow work, because shadow work is so important when you really need to figure out who you are. And figuring out who you are is the key to life. That's what God wants you to fulfill your purpose. If you're not fulfilling your purpose, what are you doing? And it takes time to get there. It's not a 1, 2, 3 thing. It's not a 1, 2, 3 thing. And it's unfortunate that Instagram and the internet has made you feel that you can be rich and famous just like that.
Instant gratification.
But I mean, YouTube and things, it's been happening over the years, but it still takes some discipline. It still
and
takes.
you still gotta do the work, and it all just comes down to the work intention. Like, yeah, I can have this tomorrow, but I've been working at it for the last 2 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, and the same with a relationship. Like, yeah, I want this relationship. I want better.
Gotta put that time in, that work.
Put in that work. Like, I found myself in my relationship I was told I am communicating like the people I work for that I don't like when they speak to me a
And that's
certain way
probably
or in a
very
certain
true.
tone, right?
Condescending, that's what they tried to say, right?
Yeah, or like my tone was just, I suppose. Just give me a lot. I
I suppose.
suppose.
But I mean, maybe it is, right? This is what I'm saying. Like, it's stuff like that. Like, I feel like we date and we're mirroring. You know what I mean? So people think that they can tell you how they feel, but they're not realizing like you're not talking to yourself, you're talking to somebody else. So you're not really understanding what you're doing to that person. You have to listen to what they're saying and understand and then try to be better. So if someone did say that to you, maybe he's dragging it a little bit, but there's a part of that he's right. You know what I mean? And if we really want to grow, we have to listen deeply, take that, evaluate that and push it out and be better.
And
And I feel
figure
like
out.
people are not trying to do that.
No,
They're not trying to do
no.
that.
A lot of times, I mean, honestly, the first, when you hear something that you don't agree with, especially about you, your first response is you're offended. It's to
Not all the
defend
time
yourself.
though. Not all the
3D.
time.
I would say, okay,
Okay.
depending on which
Yes, you're right.
frequency
You're right. You're right.
you're
You're right. You're right.
coming from,
Or the
right?
topic or the situation. So you're right. Because I've been emotional. I'm not going to sit here and act like, there's conversations where it comes out and
That's
I
the
don't get
thing.
mad.
I think it's okay to be emotional. Like, I feel like a lot of times emotion is equated to as a negative thing, right?
It's not. It's
It's
vulnerability.
okay to be emotional. It's okay to show that vulnerability, right? And to work through that in a safe space.
It's a
right?
power.
I agree.
I'm showing you exactly who I am. I'm being vulnerable. So now what are you going to do with it?
That's a fact. And that's exactly why I said in that safe space.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't feel safe, my first response is I'm gonna be offended and I'm gonna react because
Yes.
I'm uncomfortable. I'm not safe to be vulnerable with
So now
you.
what do? Do we take that right away and acknowledge that and then dub him? You get what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say? Because now we have to start doing that. We have to not red flag all day, one thing you do wrong, cool. But if it happens too many times, that means I'm not safe. I don't feel safe. And then I have to, express that to you. Like, hey, I think the reason why I'm not communicating the way you would like is because you are aggressive when you respond back to me. We have to have that true dialogue. We're not having that.
That's true.
We're not having that.
We're not. No.
No.
Both men and women, honestly speaking. And one thing I do appreciate about my man, like he does tell me, like, you're making it difficult to speak to you.
And that's good that instead of ignoring you, he could be an avoidant trauma response.
Yeah.
And not respond to you at all or feel like you're being aggressive and feel like he can't handle it. That lets you know your man is strong. And I respect a strong man because nobody's going to be perfect. And I'm a female. Let me be a woman. Let me be mad. Let me be a little emotional. As long as it doesn't go to a level of, we can't come back, then we should be fine. Because I'm a female, I'm a woman. They want you to be a woman when they want you to be. But then when it comes down to it, I got to have my feelings and emotions intact. It's like,
what do you want?
what do you want? You want me to be feminine? I mean, I'm not crazy, so at least I'm communicating my feelings and emotions the best way I can. It's either for you to say, hey, I'm going to lead this and I'm going to acknowledge what you're saying. I'm going to evaluate it. Maybe I got to tweak it, twist it, and communicate it back to you. Yeah. But it can be done.
Yeah.
But people are not there.
No.
They trying to get their I mean, it's just a crazy world right now.
Everyone's trying to survive. Literally, like so many people are literally just like, I just want to make it till next week. Or I'm trying to make this stretch. Like no one is in the headspace.
And then people deep like me get stuck because there's no one really feeling my depth. They're only focused on the surface. And I'm not a surface woman. So all I continuously do is deal with people who don't see me.
Yeah.
And they see what they see. They don't see me. They think
see the physical.
Yeah, like people don't know I'm not an Instagram person. I like to do my work and my business. I'm so big on my brand. Besides that, if it was up to me, I wouldn't be on Instagram at all.
If it wasn't for these pictures, they wouldn't see you at all.
At all. At all. Every man that I've dated never had Instagram.
Really?
Yep. Until like these last couple years, of course. Because, but when I was like serious, like every boyfriend that I had, they did not have Instagram.
Wow, that's really good because I love that, honestly speaking. Me personally, when
it was something about them that obviously made me keep dating that type of man. So I started to evaluate that. Like men I dated did not have Instagram. I'm like, I wasn't into that type of man. I've never been into a flashy guy. I've never been into a guy who is like, look at me. Yeah, a peacock. What are you doing? Leave that for the ladies. You know what I mean? Leave that for a female to express her femininity and feel confident and do that. But be confident, of course. Don't get me wrong. But don't be over
I
do it.
agree. Some you got some man. If my man was posting on Instagram more than me, I'll look at him like, "Sir, what is this?" Like, you do have some men who, honestly speaking, honestly though, if it's
Honestly,
not
though, I
like,
love that you say honestly though so much. It's so cute.
literally, this is how I speak.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're not as a man, and I know they hate when I say as a man, but yes, I'm talking to the men. So as a man, I
Mm-mm.
feel like if you're not using social media to like grow a business or advertising or something like that, like
Mm-hmm.
you gotta take a step back because I look at a lot of social media as a distraction personally. And so if I'm seeing my man posting on Instagram every 5 minutes, you're distracted. You are not working on something you should be working
But
towards.
you said if he's only posting like
No, if
regular
he's
stuff,
posting every 5 minutes, whether it's on his story, whether it's
what is the substance of what is he posting?
that exactly my point. Like if
That's
you're
what
not
I'm saying.
building the build, you're not growing a business, you're not advertising, you're not pushing out some positive stuff. No one's saying to restrict yourself and to not be on social media. Like
You
do
just feel
as
like
you
he got too
please.
much time on his hands.
Exactly. When it's excessive, I'm like side eye. Like honestly speaking, if I'm just dating someone and talking to them and I'm noticing that behavior, I wouldn't even move forward with anything serious with you because I'm like, that's not the type of man I want.
Mm-hmm.
It's very simple.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is a lot of people don't know what they want.
That's the thing.
Like
They don't know themselves, so how could they know what they want? And that's where shadow work really needs to be done. And a lot of people, they need to understand themselves in order to date people. You can't be half and not. You need to be whole in order to
what
date
does
somebody.
shadow work look like?
Shadow work is basically understanding your traumas and what you've been through. And, doing the work is different for everybody. Some people want to be, you know, rich, and some people want to be wealthy in their trade. Some people want to be famous. Some people want to just be content. Everybody has to know what they really, really want. And I think, like, again, Instagram has, filtered that and made people think more than what they truly believe. And now they're confused. You know what I mean? So I think shadow work is really just taking a moment, looking deeper in self, into the shadows of yourself. Because sometimes we portray something or project things that we're really not. And we have to take a moment and really figure that out.
And also figure out the root of
The root, like
the other
what
thing.
you just said was kind of like a shadow work. Like your gentleman saying to you, oh, you talk to me like you talk to people at your job, or it's condescending. The shadow work behind that would be figuring out if he's telling it, if he's right. And actually taking a moment, a step back and seeing how you're speaking to him, and then being more intentional. And when you're talking to him, maybe taking a couple deep breaths and then speak to him. That's shadow work. Shadow work is really taking a moment to see your shadow self, the thing that you don't want to show people,
Yeah.
the mean side, the side that's, all these things
The
are there.
sensitive, the argumentative.
It's kind of
Yeah.
like your shadow. It's like what you're not showing. And those come from so many different walks of life, your traumas, all kind of things. So,
It's like baggage. It's like because
hmm
when I think of a shadow, that's what I see, right? I see
yeah.
myself and I see like the shit.
You don't
the
see
I
anything
don't I
else but
hate
just a shadow, just a dark.
literally
The
yeah.
you see your body figure behind you,
The frame.
the frame.
And that's it in
That's it.
dark.
Yeah.
Like I look at it as baggage to some
hmm
extent, but I think it's understanding like the root of that baggage, as you
hmm
said, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
very dismissive, I'm very nonchalant. Are those maybe the best traits to have in a relationship?
But have
Absolutely
they
not.
protected your heart? Maybe they have.
They
So
have.
it could be a defense mechanism. And I think when you're
Mhm.
dating a partner, that's for them to try to work through with you.
Mhm.
Some things have to be worked through together. Some things
Agreed.
you can't do it all on your own, because if you're by yourself, you're not dealing with anyone. So you're not mirroring anyone. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? You have no one telling you what you're doing versus what you're not, because you're by yourself. So everything is okay. You're by yourself.
So when you say that, because I do want to, this idea of taking breaks in a relationship, right? Or
Mm.
like if we're arguing all the time, let's take a break. What's your perspective on that? And I'm not saying, breaks can mean different things, right? Breaks can be I go see other people, you go see other people. When I think of a break in a relationship or a
No
dating
one should even be
situation,
saying that. No one should be saying, I'm taking a break and I'm going to go see other people.
yeah,
Like, I think people do think that way, but like,
they
it shouldn't
do,
even be
but that's
that.
a conversation you need to have. But I remember one time, like for example, my man and I, we were having like arguments very often,
Mm.
and I was like, I think we should take a break. Like,
Nothing wrong.
I'ma just focus on better in my communication. You focus on yours, and he was like confused because he's like, how can we take a break apart but still work on our communication? Shouldn't we, in order to work on communication between the two of us, we need to communicate, right? So I think for him, he saw the break as a cop out rather than dealing with us. I wanted to deal with myself.
But that's the only
Because
way you can come to him is if you're whole.
that's what I was about to say, right?
Yeah.
If I look at this within myself, then I can come to you more how you want it. I guess how you want me or the things you need, I suppose. So I get a little confused, honestly speaking, because sometimes I think it's important to take time to yourself and figure out, like, yo, is it the relationship or is it me? You know, am I bringing my personal things I'm going through into my relationship and it's causing all this friction and all this
Yeah, I don't think it's
disagreement?
anything wrong with that. I think it's how it's communicated. If it's going to be a break, I don't think people taking breaks should be in a negative perspective. I think that it's how it's communicated. Like I said, if you say to me, hey, babe, I'm going through some things emotionally. I am in my feels. I need a few moments. I need just some time to figure some things out. But we should still be communicating. It shouldn't be a break where it's like, I don't speak to you anymore.
Yeah.
It should just be a break where I'm focusing solely or more on myself. But if you call me, I'm answering. If you want to spend time together, I'm answering. But you will not be my focus. And sometimes a relationship being the focus can be a distraction in your everyday life or you trying to reach your goals. And sometimes people reaching their goals is really bettering themselves because that's the reason why they're not getting where they need to be because they're not a better person. And that so many levels to that as well, whether it's their traumas or, their thought process or their physical. Some people are not well physically. They need to take a moment and deal with that and get better at that and then come to somebody for something,
Like, fix the mental, fix the physical before you can do the emotional.
But you should also get support too.
Yeah. You said get support?
Yeah, you should also be able to be in your relationship and ask for that support. I mean, only reason why I feel like you may need a break is like you said, if you are not communicating effectively and now things are becoming a negative, that's when I feel like it needs to be a break to an extent.
Yeah.
But if we are just like having small disagreements and I'm saying that I need to just take a moment to myself, then that's kind of like you're copping out. You get what I mean? I feel like it needs to be some depth in that for me to feel like it's not a cop out.
Okay. Yeah, I get what
You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm like, if you communicate it a certain way, then I don't think it should be a problem. But if we're not really going through anything and then you're trying to act like we need a break, then I'm going to be looking at you like, what's going on with you?
But again, that also goes back to your perception is your reality because to you it might not be
small,
something
yeah.
that it can be something small, right? And then to that person it can be something big.
And I think that's fair.
Where I require that time alone or that time apart. But it all just comes down to communication.
Yeah, how you
being
communicate
able
it.
to say like, hey, we're good.
We're good.
We're good. It's nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
It's a me thing,
But when you really like somebody, it is hard to hear that, I guess. Like, especially as a man, they don't know if you're going to go date somebody else. And women they definitely don't want to hear that.
Yeah. I
Do you think maybe we should do it mentally and not like communicate it at all maybe and still be the same person but just work on self?
I can't though.
Why?
Like me personally, I can't like work on self and then work on you. Like I'm weird to be honest with you, right? Like I compartmentalize a lot. I'm big on like there's days where I just don't want to speak to anyone and I just want to be by myself and
Okay.
then I still have to I don't know.
I feel like that's okay. I feel like that's okay. Like I don't think what you're saying is wrong. I think that just taking your time with it,
This is like therapy. This is like a mirror, like, girl.
But usually our conversations, when you really think about it, they are like that.
They really are.
I mean, it would be a lot more structured because we'll be talking about something specific, and then we could really like pour our hearts into that conversation because we've had some really good conversations,
From
so
like the jump at that front desk, hostesses and maitre d's, and like literally just getting deep into life and real life conversations.
Yeah,
that's why I enjoy talking to you so much.
Yeah, we got to see each other in two different lights too, like working with someone and then being someone's friend in two different experiences. So I feel like when I work with you, I do want to give you your flowers as well. I do want to say, as a maitre d, I started as a host there. Remember, I was pulled in by a mutual coworker from a previous location, restaurant, and going there, I got promoted. You watched me grow.
Yes, I did.
And I feel like, when I worked with you, you had such an assertiveness that a lot of women do not have. And just know that men get afraid of that. People are afraid of that. And you witnessed that at work.
Yes.
So I feel like that was just such a strong characteristic of yours, your assertiveness and how you communicated what you was dealing with and what you were not dealing with, you know. And then me, on the other hand, I was a person that was a team builder, so I was always willing to jump in and help, but people took advantage of that until I had to stand up for myself, you know. So I just feel like work and being a friend is two different things. And I definitely do appreciate both of our relationships on both
Same.
ends. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Because it's literally seeing someone in two different lights.
Mhm.
And also, like, because sometimes, like, when you're friends and then when you work together, it's like if I'm your supervisor, you can be like, girl, you're just my friend. Like, why are you being so hard on me? Why are you doing this? And it's
But
like,
then you shouldn't be able to do that, because when I'm at work, I feel like you separate the two. You're not going to tell me as a coworker and as a friend it's the same thing. It's not.
no, it's
Because
not.
you could do something at work that's completely different than what you've done as a friend.
As a friend.
And I can't say the same thing to you in the same verbiage that I would at work. So why would I not separate the two?
I agree. Literally. Oh, this is our full circle moment.
Mhm.
Because that's exactly how we built a friendship.
Yeah.
It was literally all work, and then we were like, we really like
We
each
really
other.
get each other.
Let's
Yeah, we
let's
really get
cultivate
each
that
other.
outside of this space.
Mhm.
And honestly speaking, right back to you and your flowers, like I felt like a lot of my spiritual journey, I learned so much from you. Just like the information you put on Instagram, honestly speaking, like the way you had to like decipher. Like sometimes it's like codes, and it's like if you get it, you get it. If
I got
you don't,
I got
don't.
right here. Yeah.
Because you know what I'm
Yes.
talking about, right? And it challenged me. A lot of stuff you post, or like a lot of conversations with you, challenged me to go like do my own work. To be honest with you, to get to, everyone's journey is different.
Nobody's
and
perfect.
everyone's on their own time.
Yeah.
But seeing the ascension from like 2017, 2018, since I've known you, it's like, wow.
And then imagine the people before that.
Admirable. Yeah.
You know, because I was wild when I was young. I was the girl that you probably would. The woman I am today is completely different than the girl I was before. So, with that being said, like I went through levels, and people watched me go through these levels, and they see me at the bottom. They see me go right back to the top multiple times. So, with that being said, I'm very strong in who I am. And, I just feel like me pouring out to people is really my purpose. Like, especially with Instagram, which kills me, is that people don't really see me. They see like hella pretty and they think it's just like, oh, she's fashion, she's this, she's that. But if you really pay attention and you read my captions carefully, you'll understand I have so much depth to me, and that I'm actually trying to give that to the universe. Like I really want my people of color to understand self-awareness and shadow work and believing in the higher purpose of God's will and things of that nature, because that's why we're back. It's not about, a lot of people are speaking so much on the past, right? And I'm really big on my people and what we went through. I don't take that lightly at all, but I feel like the real challenge today for us to get generational wealth and legacy is understanding self-awareness, shadow work, doing the actual work, and really understanding your traumas and who you are, and the good and the bad, and then transforming that into the person you truly want to be and God's purpose for you, and combining them and being the best person you can be, and whatever that looks like for you. Like
I love that.
That's why, like, really shadow work is different for everybody. Some people have generational traumas with their family they got to work through. Some people just got ego that they got to work through. So once they got past their ego, you see they did so well in their job, or they got to a better position in their life. Some people really got to go through childhood stuff that really put different thought processes in their mind and has cultivated an energy amongst them that they have to fight through. They have to find themselves. They have to literally go through the mud and
like
realize, yes. And that's what I'm doing.
People, it's a rebirth.
You asked me that. What was my biggest thing this year? You asked me what was my
your biggest lesson.
Lesson. And I feel like my biggest lesson was what I said. It was
trusting,
intuition, and knowing that discernment, you could only go so far with discernment, because people will pretend, and they will tell you things and their words don't match their actions, but your intuition will really make you feel what's happening versus what they're saying. But what the killer is, what I really brought that back up was because this year I was rebirthed. Like, and I want to talk about this because I feel like I've turned 33, right, this
The
year.
Jesus year.
Jesus year. And if you watch, like my caption was very, very deep.
Very.
And a lot of people probably had no idea where I was coming from with that. But when I say I'm being rebirthed, like when you go through your stages in life as a woman, you're going to go, when you're no longer a child, you put away childish things, period.
Ooh.
And I'm at a space where like the things that used to entertain me don't entertain me anymore. And I'm confused,
As to
like,
why?
and I'm trying to figure out how to embrace the new woman. And it's not easy because you're surrounded by the people who knew you before. You know what I mean? And you're trying to reach a different space in life that other people are not even aware of. They can't even fathom what you're saying. So I feel like the rebirth that I'm dealing with right now is so deep. Because I'm looking back at my past and I'm looking at my future and I'm in present.
Yeah.
And being in present, being in stillness is really where you understand true self.
I agree. I
Because
agree.
we're all moving and shaking. But when you really take a moment to look within and you understand the
Pause.
present
Take
and
like pause. Look at you. Look inward.
mm-hmm,
Understand. Process. Understand it. Be in the present.
mm-hmm.
Like you're living.
Are you living or are you existing?
As I said, a lot of people don't
Like,
live because they're either in
no.
the past or the future.
Yeah. Or
Like,
what about they living and they living too fast and then things happen and it makes them slow down and now they have to really take a moment and see where they are.
yeah.
Now they're really faced with their true self because they were moving so fast, they didn't even have the moment to acknowledge where they were.
Yeah. That's a fact. I love this. So we do have to wrap up.
Yeah.
Time is against us. Just a little bit.
Mhm.
But before you go, thank you again for coming on and sharing your positivity, your
No
perspective on
problem.
things, and giving understanding. Honestly speaking, I feel like
Mhm.
I haven't had this conversation personally on this couch or on this platform of podcasting ever.
I would
So
like to have it more maybe like on a topic specific so we can
yeah.
like elaborate more because I
Mhm.
would love to, you know, just give a little bit more input on those things that we did talk about.
Well, you
But
will be back
yeah.
where we get
And
to
I
hone
thank you
in.
so much for asking me to do it because it's new for me. It's different. It's something that I really want to do on my own. So this being the first experience is pretty dope. It's pretty cool.
And
And
you'll
I
be
now
great when you
see
do it.
like what I'm gonna have to deal with. Like,
You got a glimpse
yes, I did.
of podcast world. Let
Hmm.
them know where they can find your social media
My
handles
social
if you want them to
media.
find you.
Absolutely. My Instagram is hella pretty. H3LLA____ PR3TTY. And my brand's Instagram is at House of Jacque. Jacque means we jack nothing. So everything is authentic and one of a kind. So whether I style you, it's going to be a different look that nobody else could really put together. And if I customize a piece, it's going to be one of a kind. If I market you and I give you a strategy to advance your brand, it's going to be customized and packaged just for you so that when you introduce what you are providing to the world, it's authentic.
I love that. So yay. I'm so excited for this episode.
Me too. I don't know. I never did this before. I feel like I'm sweating bullets. I'm like moving my hands a lot, but it's authentic, so I'm with it. I'm okay with it.
Exactly. This is you. I move
I'm
my
always
hands a
okay
lot
with it.
too when I speak. I'm like, oh, thank you guys for joining. I shall see you all in the new year.
Yes.
Okay. Happy New Year. See you all in
Thank
2024.
you for watching.
Yeah. Bye.